The night my wife told a room full of people I could never satisfy a woman, I was holding a tray of grilled chicken in one hand and a pair of tongs in the other, like some sad suburban statue. Nobody moved. Not her sister, not our neighbors, not the guy from her office who had laughed a little too hard at every one of her jokes all summer. And not Claire. Claire was my wife's best friend, which meant she had spent years in our kitchen, on our back porch, at our Christmas mornings laughing with my wife over wine, while I fixed cabinet hinges and pretended not to hear my own marriage cracking in the next room. My name is Daniel Mercer. I was 47 years old that night, owned a small flooring company in Ohio, and had been married to Vanessa for 19 years. 19 years is long enough to learn the exact sound of someone giving up on you. Vanessa had been giving up loudly for about 3. At first, it was little things. The way she sighed when I came home dusty from a job site. The way she told people I was simple, then touched my arm like that made it affectionate. The way she stopped saying my name unless she needed something carried, repaired, or paid for. I told myself every marriage had seasons. I told myself love was sometimes quiet. I told myself a lot of things men say when they are standing in a house they helped pay for, wondering why it feels like they are renting space in someone else's life. That Saturday was supposed to be a barbecue for Vanessa's birthday. She had turned 45 the week before and wanted something casual, which in Vanessa's language meant I cleaned the yard, borrowed extra chairs, bought better steaks than we could comfortably afford, and then watched her complain that the string lights made the patio look cheap. Claire arrived late, carrying a lemon cake and wearing a navy dress that made half the backyard forget their conversations. She was 44, divorced, and had a way of entering a place like she was apologizing for taking up space while somehow becoming the only person you noticed. Dark hair pinned badly because she never had patience for pins. Sharp eyes, kind mouth. The kind of woman who remembered what you said 6 months ago and asked about it when no one else did. Daniel, she said, setting the cake on the table, tell me you didn't cook all this by yourself. I didn't cook all this by myself. She narrowed her eyes. Did you? Yes. That was very obedient of you. I'm growing as a person. She smiled, and for 1 second, the noise in my chest quieted. Vanessa saw it. I know she did because her laugh changed. It got brighter, meaner. Dinner went fine until it didn't. That was usually how things worked with Vanessa. She could be charming for 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours if there was an audience worth impressing. Then some invisible switch flipped, and the night needed a victim. That night, it was me. It started with her office friend, Brad, making a joke about husbands being trainable. Vanessa leaned back in her chair, glass of white wine in hand, and said, Daniel was easy to train. You just lower your expectations. A few people laughed because people are cowards when appetizers are involved. I smiled, not because it was funny, because that was the face I had learned to wear. Claire didn't laugh. She looked at me across the patio table, and there was something in her expression I didn't want to name. Not pity, worse, recognition. Brad, feeling brave, said, Come on, Vanessa. He seems like a good guy. Oh, he's a good guy, Vanessa said. Steady, reliable, very useful. She lifted her glass toward me. Just don't expect fireworks. The table went quiet enough for the citronella candle to hiss. I looked down at the platter in my hand, at the neat rows of chicken I had marinated since morning. It's strange what you notice when your dignity is being peeled off in public. A smear of barbecue sauce on your thumb, the warped deckboard near your shoe, your own heartbeat behaving like it wants to leave before you do. Vanessa, Claire said softly, but Vanessa was already smiling, that pretty, dangerous smile. What? She said. We're all adults. Marriage is compromise. Some of us compromise more than others. I set the tray down, carefully. That mattered to me later. I didn't slam it. I didn't shout. I didn't perform pain for the people who had come for cake. I just put the tray down and looked at my wife. 19 years, I said. Her smile flickered. That's how long I've kept private things private for you. The patio held its breath. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Oh, please don't get dramatic. I'm not. My voice surprised me. It was calm. Too calm, maybe. I'm tired. Brad shifted in his chair. Someone coughed. The neighbor's teenage son suddenly found the grass fascinating. Vanessa leaned forward. You're tired? From what, Daniel? Being adored for doing the bare minimum? That was when Claire stood up. Her chair scraped against the deck so sharply everyone flinched. Enough, she said. Vanessa blinked at her. Excuse me? Claire's face had gone pale, but her voice was steady. I said enough. A nervous laugh escaped Vanessa. Claire, sit down. No. One word, clean as a struck match. I looked at her then, really looked, and saw her hands shaking at her sides. Vanessa saw it too, and something cruel lit in her eyes. Don't tell me you're taking his side. Claire swallowed. The backyard had gone completely still. The string lights hummed above us. Somewhere inside the house, the ice maker dropped cubes into the bin like applause from another world. Claire looked at Vanessa, then at me, and for the first time in all the years I had known her, my wife's best friend forgot her manners. She pointed at me in front of everyone and said, if you had any idea what kind of man you've been humiliating, you would be ashamed to open your mouth. Vanessa stayed seated, wineglass frozen halfway between the table and her mouth, blinking like Claire had slapped her instead of simply telling the truth. I was still standing behind the patio table with the tongs in one hand and a tray of chicken cooling beside me, but something in the air had changed. Not gotten better, just honest. Vanessa's face hardened first. Oh, she said, setting her glass down with careful precision. So that's what this is. Claire didn't move. Her finger lowered slowly, but the rest of her stayed braced, like she'd stepped in front of traffic and had no intention of jumping back to the curb. What is? Claire asked. Vanessa gave a short laugh. Don't play innocent. You've always been a little too interested in my husband. A few guests looked at their plates. That's the thing about public cruelty. People love the first act until the second act asks them to pick a side. I put the tongs down. Vanessa, I said. No, Daniel. She stood then, wineglass in hand now, her chair scraping softer than Claire's had. Let her talk, since she's so full of opinions about my marriage. Claire's mouth tightened, but she didn't retreat. Your marriage? She said. You mean the one where he cooks, cleans, fixes your mother's gutters, remembers every appointment you forget and still gets treated like some disappointing intern? Brad muttered, Maybe we should… Sit down, Brad, Claire and Vanessa said at the same time. Under other circumstances, I might have laughed. Honestly, it was the most unified those two had sounded all night. Vanessa turned on Claire, bouffa. You don't know anything. I know more than you think. That sentence landed too hard. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? Claire glanced at me and the look was brief, but it carried weight. Regret. Warning. Something held back for years. I felt my stomach tighten. Claire, I said quietly, don't. She heard me. I know she did. But Claire had reached the edge of whatever silence she had been keeping. And once a person like Claire crossed that line, there was no polite way back. She looked at Vanessa again. It means I was there 2 years ago, she said. Vanessa went still. The patio shifted around us. Someone's fork clinked against a plate. The air smelled like smoke, basil, and a storm that hadn't arrived yet. I was at the hospital, Claire said. My hand closed around the back of a chair. Vanessa's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Claire's voice softened, and that somehow made it worse. When Daniel called me because you wouldn't answer your phone, when your mother fell and broke her hip, he had been there for 16 hours, sitting in that ugly vinyl chair dealing with doctors, paperwork, insurance, your mother crying because she was scared, remembered the fluorescent lights, the coffee that tasted like burned pennies. Vanessa texting me at midnight, handle it, I have an early meeting. Claire looked at the people around the table. He didn't complain, he didn't tell anyone. He just stayed. Vanessa's cheeks flushed. That was family business. No, Claire said. That was love. And you called it bare minimum. I looked down because I didn't trust my face. It is a strange thing to be defended when you've trained yourself not to need defending. Part of you feels grateful. Another part feels exposed, like someone opened a curtain over a room you kept dark on purpose. Vanessa's voice sharpened. How noble. Is that when you started fantasizing about him? A small gasp came from the far end of the table. Claire flinched. That did it. I stepped around the patio table, leaving the chicken and tongs behind. I didn't rush. I didn't raise my voice, but when I stopped between them, Vanessa finally looked at me like she remembered I was in the yard. You don't get to do that, I said. Her eyes flashed. Do what? Throw dirt at her because she told the truth about me. Vanessa laughed, brittle and bright. Listen to you, defending her now. Yes, I said. I am. Claire's breath caught behind me. Vanessa stared at me. Maybe she expected shame. Maybe she expected me to backpedal, to soothe her, to make the room comfortable again. I'd done that for years. I had been the human rug under every awkward silence. But a man can only be stepped on so long before he remembers he has feet. I am defending Claire, I said, because she is the only person here brave enough to say out loud what everyone else has been pretending not to hear. Nobody moved. Vanessa lifted her chin. So now I'm the villain? No, I said. You're my wife. That's why this hurts. For half a second, something flickered in her. Not guilt exactly, more like surprise that pain had a voice. Then she killed it. You are embarrassing me at my birthday party. I almost smiled. So, Vanessa, I said, you opened the door. She looked away first. The sky rumbled in the distance, low and slow. A summer storm rolling toward us like it had been invited. Claire touched my elbow. Barely. 2 fingers against my sleeve. Daniel, she said, you don't have to do this in front of everyone. That small touch nearly undid me more than Vanessa's insults had. Not because it was romantic. Not yet. Because it was careful. I turned slightly. I know. Her eyes were glossy, but she held herself together. Claire Bishop was 49, a hospice social worker, and the kind of woman who could walk into the hardest room of someone's life and still remember to ask who needed water. She had been in our circle for 12 years. She brought soup when my father died. She laughed at my bad puns like she was filing them away for blackmail. She noticed when I went quiet. And she was my wife's best friend. That last fact stood between us like a locked gate. Vanessa picked up her glass again, but her hand trembled. I want everyone to leave. No one argued. Chairs scraped. Napkins dropped. People murmured the useless phrases people use when they want to escape with their conscience intact. Thanks for having us. Happy birthday. Drive safe? Brad tried to clap me on the shoulder, missed the right moment, and settled for saying, Take care, man, like I had the flu. Within 10 minutes, the backyard emptied. The storm came closer. The string lights swayed. The cake sat untouched on the side table, white frosting beginning to sag in the humidity. Claire remained near the grill, arms folded, looking like she wanted to stay and disappear at the same time. Vanessa stood by the patio door. You too, she said to Claire. Claire nodded once. Of course. She started toward the gate. I don't know what made me speak. Maybe the storm. Maybe the hospital memory. Maybe the fact that I had spent years letting decent moments leave because indecent ones were louder. Claire. She stopped with one hand on the latch. Vanessa's eyes snapped to me. I swallowed. Thank you. Claire looked back, and the anger had drained from her face, leaving only sadness. You shouldn't have needed me to say it, she said. No, I admitted. But I did. Vanessa made a sound under her breath. Touching. Claire opened the gate, then paused. This time, when she looked at Vanessa, her voice was quiet enough that only the 3 of us could hear. I loved you like a sister, she said. That's why I stayed polite for so long. But watching you break a good man and call it marriage, I'm done being polite. Then she walked out and the gate clicked shut behind her. The first drops of rain hit the patio stones. Vanessa and I stood facing each other under the string lights, with 19 years of marriage between us, and not one guest left to hide behind. Then her phone lit up on the table. A message preview flashed across the screen from a name I didn't recognize. Can't wait until you finally leave him. You deserve fireworks tonight. Vanessa stood by the patio door with her wine glass in one hand and her phone in the other, the screen lighting her face from below like a campfire no one wanted to sit around. For a second, neither of us moved. Rain ticked against the patio stones. The string light swung over the empty chairs. Somewhere beyond the fence, a car door shut. As the last guest escaped the crime scene we used to call a birthday party, I looked at the name on her screen. Grant. Not Brad, not one of the husbands I knew, not a coworker she had ever mentioned, just Grant, with a little champagne glass emoji beside his name because apparently even betrayal needed accessories now. Vanessa turned the phone over against her palm. Too late. I had seen enough. Who's Grant? Her face did something strange. Not guilt, exactly. More like irritation that I had stepped into the wrong room without knocking. Nobody. I laughed once, but there wasn't any humor in it. Nobody can't wait until you finally leave me? Her jaw tightened. The storm gave a low roll of thunder, and for some reason that made me calmer. Maybe because nature was finally matching the room. Daniel, she said, like she was about to scold me for leaving fingerprints on glass. Don't make this dramatic. Vanessa, you threw a birthday party, told our friends I couldn't satisfy you as a husband or as a man, kicked everyone out when they stopped laughing, and now some guy named Grant is texting you about fireworks. I don't think I'm the one bringing drama. She took a sip of wine. Her hand trembled again, but her voice stayed sharp. He listens to me. There it was. Not the whole confession, just the first loose thread. I nodded slowly. How long? She looked toward the yard like the answer might be hiding behind the hydrangeas. How long? I repeated. 6 months. The words hit clean. No screaming, no cinematic glass breaking. Just 6 months dropping into 19 years like a stone into a well. I had expected pain to roar. Instead, it organized itself. Physical? She looked back at me quickly. Too quickly. No. I studied her face. Not yet, she added. That little correction did more damage than the first answer. I walked to the patio table and set my hand on the back of one of the empty chairs. I needed something solid. The chair wobbled anyway. Not yet, I said. He makes me feel alive. I closed my eyes. There are phrases people use when they want permission to be cruel. I need to find myself. I deserve passion. You don't understand me. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. They sound soft until they land. When I opened my eyes, Vanessa was crying. Not the messy kind, the controlled kind, the kind she could still win an argument through. I have been unhappy for years, she said. I know. That stopped her. I wiped rain from my forehead, though I was standing under the awning. I know you've been unhappy. You told me every day. What I didn't know was that you were using my patience as a waiting room. She flinched. Good. Not because I wanted to hurt her, because for once a sentence had reached her. Her phone buzzed again. She looked down before she could stop herself. I didn't ask permission. I didn't snatch it from her hand either. I just said, put it on the table. She stared at me. Daniel? Put it on the table. Maybe it was my voice. Maybe it was the fact that the guests were gone and she had no audience left. But she set the phone on the patio table, screen up, beside the untouched birthday cake. Another message from Grant appeared. Tell him tonight. Don't let him guilt you. You've wasted enough. Time being married to furniture. Furniture. I stared at that word until it blurred. All those years fixing faucets, paying mortgages, holding her mother's hand at the rehab center, putting gas in her car when she forgot, remembering the bakery that made the lemon cake she liked, sleeping on the edge of my own bed because she said I breathed too loud. Furniture. I reached for the phone. Vanessa grabbed it first. No. Then call him. What? Call Grant, right now. Her lips parted. If he's real enough to coach you out of our marriage during your birthday barbecue, I said, he's real enough to say hello. She hugged the phone against her chest. You're being ridiculous. No, I'm being introduced. Thunder cracked close enough to rattle base of the silverware left on the buffet table. Then, from the side gate, someone knocked. not a polite knock. 3 quick hits against wood. Vanessa and I both turned. The gate opened a few inches, and Claire stood there in the rain, hair damp, one hand gripping the strap of her purse. "I'm sorry," she said, breathless. "I'd left my keys on the side table." She stepped in, then stopped when she saw our faces. Vanessa's mouth hardened. "Perfect. Audience number 2. Claire looked from her to me, then to the phone clutched in Vanessa's hand. "What happened?" I could have lied. I could have protected Vanessa again out of muscle memory. Instead, I said, "Grant happened." Claire went still, not confused, still. That was when my stomach sank for the second time. Vanessa saw it too. Her eyes narrowed. "Claire." Claire's face lost color. I looked between them. "You know him?" Rain ran down Claire's temple. She didn't wipe it away. "Daniel," she said softly, "I didn't know it was still going on." The world got very quiet after that. Vanessa pointed at her with the phone. "Don't you dare." Claire stepped fully onto the patio, keys forgotten, manners gone. "No," she said. "I kept your secrets when they were harmless complaints over lunch. I kept quiet when you said you were lonely. But if you're going to stand here and make him feel like he was never enough while another man is waiting in the wings, then I'm done." I stared at Claire. "How long have you known?" She looked at me, and the shame in her eyes was worse than any answer. "Long enough to regret it." I stood there on the patio with Vanessa's phone in one hand and that stupid lemon birthday cake in the other, staring at Claire like the rain had just washed a stranger into my yard. Vanessa still had her wine glass near her hip, pointed at Claire like it was evidence. "Long enough to regret it," Claire repeated, quieter this time. I set the cake down on the table before I dropped it. The frosting had smeared against my thumb. 20 years of marriage coming apart beside buttercream and plastic forks. There's no dignified setting for heartbreak. People think there should be violins. Sometimes it's just thunder, wet patio chairs, and a cake nobody wants to eat. Vanessa laughed once. "Oh, don't look so wounded, Daniel. Claire loves playing noble when it costs her nothing." Claire's eyes snapped to her. "It cost me plenty." "What did you know?" I asked. Claire turned toward me. "She told me about Grant 6 months ago. At first she said he was just someone from the downtown redevelopment committee. Someone who listened. Someone who made her feel alive." Her voice cracked, but she didn't look away. "I told her if she was unhappy, she needed to talk to you. Or leave, honestly." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "You lectured me over salad." "I begged you not to turn him into the villain just because you were too afraid to admit you wanted out." That landed. For the first time all night, Vanessa looked less angry than exposed. I looked down at the phone in my hand. Another message lit up. "Grant, are you coming or not?" I read it aloud. Vanessa's face went pale. Claire covered her mouth with one hand. "Vanessa." I didn't shout. I wish I could tell you I had some dramatic burst of rage, but something in me had gone terribly calm. "Were you leaving tonight?" I asked. Vanessa's jaw trembled. "So, I was going to tell you." "After the cake?" "Don't be cruel." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because my whole body didn't know what else to do with that sentence. "Cruel?" I said. "You called me furniture in front of another man." "I didn't write that." "But you let him." Rain blew sideways onto the patio roof. Claire stepped toward me, then stopped herself. That small restraint told me more about her than any speech could have. Vanessa noticed it too. "Oh, please," she said. "Don't pretend this isn't convenient for both of you." Claire stiffened. "Do not do that." "Do what?" "Use my mistake to make your betrayal look smaller." Vanessa's eyes cut to mine. "Ask her, Daniel." I already knew I wasn't going to like the answer, but I asked anyway. "Ask her what?" Vanessa smiled, and it was the ugliest smile I'd seen on her in 20 years. "Ask your brave little defender why she gets so emotional about you." Claire went still. My chest tightened. "Vanessa," Claire warned. "No, say it." Vanessa lifted her chin. "If everyone is being honest tonight, let's be honest. She's been half in love with you for years." The patio seemed to tilt. Claire looked at me, mortified. Daniel, I never crossed a line, Vanessa scoffed. Except in your head. I held up one hand. Enough! Both women stopped. I turned to Vanessa first. You don't get to weaponize someone else's feelings to distract from what you did. Her mouth opened. I'm not finished. My voice didn't rise, but it finally sounded like mine again. If Claire has feelings for me, that is hers to answer for, not yours to parade around like a party trick. You humiliated me in front of our friends. You let another man mock our marriage. You planned to leave while I was grilling chicken for your birthday. Vanessa blinked hard. And somehow, I said, BC, you still think the worst thing happening here is that someone else saw me clearly. Claire's eyes filled. Vanessa whispered, You're choosing her? No, I said. I'm choosing me. The words came out before I knew they were ready. Once they were in the air, I felt something inside me unlock. Vanessa stared at me like I had slapped her. I'm not calling Grant, I said. I'm not begging. I'm not competing. I'm not proving I'm more than furniture to a woman who spent years rearranging me whenever she got bored. Her lips parted, but nothing came. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight, I continued. Tomorrow we'll talk about separation, calmly, with lawyers if we have to, but this marriage, the way it has been, ends tonight. Claire closed her eyes, one tear slipping free. Vanessa looked between us, then grabbed the phone from my hand. For a second, I thought she might throw it. Instead, she shoved it into her purse with shaking hands. I hope you both enjoy your little moral victory, she said. Then she turned and went inside, slamming the patio door so hard the glass shivered. The silence after she left was worse than the yelling. Claire stood in the rain at the edge of the patio, keys still forgotten somewhere near the side table, purse strap digging into her shoulder. I should go, she said. I looked at her. Claire. She shook her head. No, I defended you because you deserved it. Not because I expected anything. Not because I wanted tonight to happen like this. She swallowed. And if my feelings made any part of this harder, I am so sorry. I stepped closer, slow enough that she could move away if she wanted. She didn't. When did it start? I asked. Claire let out a broken little laugh. That is a terrible question to ask a woman standing in a thunderstorm. Fair. She looked up at me. It wasn't one moment. It was 100 small ones. You fixing my porch light after my dad died. You remembering I hated cilantro. You making everyone feel safe without asking to be thanked. Her voice dropped. And then watching her treat that like it was nothing. My throat burned. I'm still married, I said. I know. I'm a mess. I can see that. That's not a selling point. No, she said softly. But it is honest. For a second, neither of us moved. Then Claire reached up, not to kiss me, not to claim anything, but to wipe rainwater and frosting from my thumb with the edge of a napkin she'd grabbed from the table. It was such a gentle, absurd thing that it nearly undid me. I caught her hand before she could pull away. Don't disappear, I said, her breath caught. I'm not asking for a promise, I said. I'm not asking you to wait in some noble corner while I untangle my life. I'm asking you not to punish yourself for caring. Claire looked at our hands, then back at me. I can do that, she whispered. Inside the house, a suitcase thudded against the hallway wall. Claire and I both turned toward the patio door. Then Vanessa's voice cut through the glass, sharp and shaking. Daniel, you need to come inside. Now. Claire and I stood on the patio with our hands still locked together, rain tapping the table, Vanessa's phone slick in one of my hands, and that poor lemon birthday cake balanced against my palm like evidence from a crime scene. Daniel, Vanessa called again from inside. Now, Claire looked at me. Go. I set the cake on the patio table before it could slide onto my shoes, then gently let go of Claire's hand. Not because I wanted to, because I needed to walk into my own house without hiding behind anyone. I opened the patio door and stepped inside. Vanessa stood in the hallway beside a suitcase. Mine. The old Navy one with the busted wheel from our trip to Denver 12 years earlier. At first, I thought she had packed my clothes. Then I saw the jewelry box on top. Her jewelry box, a stack of envelopes, our wedding album, and a small framed photo of us from the first year we were married, back when we still looked at each other like life was something we were building together instead of something we were surviving. Vanessa's mascara had run. She looked younger and meaner and more frightened all at once. "I was going to leave tonight," she said. I looked down at the suitcase. "For Grant?" She swallowed. "I thought so." Claire stayed by the open patio door behind me. She didn't come in. She didn't speak. She just stood there, giving me the dignity of handling my own ending. Vanessa held out her hand for the phone. I gave it back. She looked at the screen, then turned it toward me. A message from Grant read, "Don't bring drama to my place. I told you I'm not ready for anything serious." There it was. Not a great romance, not a rescue. Just a man who liked being wanted until wanting came with luggage. Vanessa laughed once, bitter and broken. "Can you believe that?" "Yes," I said quietly. Her face twisted. "That's it? What do you want me to say?" "I don't know." She gripped the phone. "That I'm stupid. That I ruined everything. That I deserve this." I took a breath. "You're not stupid, Vanessa, but you were cruel. And you did ruin something." She flinched like the truth had more force than anger. I stepped closer, not enough to comfort her, just enough to be honest. "I don't hate you. I'm not going to stand here and pretend 20 years meant nothing. But I'm done letting the years we had become an excuse for the way you treated me." She looked past me at Claire. For once, Claire didn't lower her eyes. Vanessa whispered, "Are you two going to be together?" I could have lied to make the room easier. I didn't. "I don't know," I said, "but whatever happens next won't be the reason this marriage ended." Vanessa cried then. Not dramatically, not beautifully, just tired, ugly crying into her own hand. And the strange thing was, I felt sorry for her, but I didn't feel responsible for saving her from the consequences of being herself. She stayed at her sister's that night. I slept in the guest room anyway because the bedroom felt like a museum of everything we never said. Claire drove home after making me promise I wouldn't sit alone with the whole bottle of bourbon in the pantry. "I'm 52, I told her. "I can make responsible choices." She looked at the frosting still on my sleeve. "You carried a birthday cake through a marital collapse." "Fair point." She smiled, but her eyes were wet. Nothing happened between us that night. That matters. Some doors need to close before you reach for another handle. The divorce was not easy, but it was clean enough. Vanessa and I sold the house. We divided the furniture, the accounts, the old Christmas ornaments. There were arguments. There were quiet apologies. There was one afternoon in a lawyer's parking lot when Vanessa said, "You were a good husband, Daniel. I just didn't know how to stop resenting my own life." I told her, "I hope you build one you don't have to punish someone else for." 6 months later, Claire and I had coffee, real coffee, in public, with both of us free to sit across from each other without guilt sitting in the third chair. She wore a green sweater and made fun of me for stirring my coffee like I was negotiating with it. I told her I was nervous. She said, "Good, I'd be offended if you were smooth." Our first kiss happened 3 dates later, outside a bookstore during a rainstorm, because, apparently, weather had become our unpaid supporting actor. It was soft, careful, not a victory lap, a beginning. A year after that, I moved into a smaller house with a crooked porch light. Claire said it gave the place character. I said character was what people called repairs they didn't want to pay for. She handed me a screwdriver. We got married on a Saturday morning in her sister's backyard, with barbecue from a local place and lemon cake on purpose. When I saw it, I laughed so hard, I almost cried. Claire leaned close and whispered, "Too soon?" I said, "Perfect timing." Now, every summer, when rain hits the patio roof, she reaches for my hand without thinking. And I still feel that first impossible moment, standing in the wreckage of an ending, realizing someone had seen me clearly long before I remembered how to see myself. Vanessa remarried 2 years later. We're not friends exactly, but we're peaceful. Sometimes peace is the most graceful thing two people can give each other after love has run out. As for Claire, she still forgets her manners around me sometimes. She steals fries from my plate. She corrects my grill temperature. She kisses me in the kitchen when I'm trying to read the mail, and every time, I let her. What would you have done if your spouse humiliated you in front of everyone, only for their best friend to be the one who finally defended you? And have you ever had one painful moment reveal feelings you didn't know how to name? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.